Ethereum is a decentralized, open-source blockchain featuring smart contract functionality. Ether is the native cryptocurrency of the platform. It is the second largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization, after Bitcoin. Ethereum is the most actively used blockchain. Ethereum was proposed in 2013 by programmer Vitalik Buterin. Development was crowdfunded in 2014, and the network went live on the 30th of July 2015, with 72 million coins pre-mined. The Ethereum virtual machine can execute scripts and run decentralized applications. Ethereum is used for decentralized finance and has been utilized for many initial coin offerings. In 2016, a hacker exploited a flaw in a third-party project called the DAO and stole $50 million of Ether. As a result, the Ethereum community voted to hard fork the blockchain to reverse the theft, and Ethereum Classic continued as the original chain. Ethereum has started implementing a series of upgrades called Ethereum 2.0, which includes a transition to proof of stake and an increase in transaction throughput using sharding. History. Ethereum was initially described in a white paper by Vitalik Buterin, a programmer and co-founder of Bitcoin magazine, in late 2013 with a goal of building decentralized applications. Buterin argued that Bitcoin and blockchain technology could benefit from other applications besides money, and needed a scripting language for application development that could lead to attaching real-world assets, such as stocks and property, to the blockchain. In 2013, Buterin briefly worked with eToro CEO Yanni Ashio on the Colored Coins project and drafted its white paper outlining additional use cases for blockchain technology. However, after failing to gain agreement on how the project should proceed, he proposed the development of a new platform with a more general scripting language that would eventually become Ethereum. Ethereum was announced at the North American Bitcoin Conference in Miami in January 2014. During the conference, a group of people rented a house in Miami. Gavin Wood, Charles Hoskinson, and Anthony D'Iorio from Toronto, who financed the project. D'Iorio invited friend Joseph Lubin, who invited reporter Morgan Peck to bear witness. 6 months later, the founders met again in a house in Zug, Switzerland, where Buterin told the founders that the project would proceed as a non-profit. Hoskinson left the project at that time. Ethereum has an unusually long list of founders. Anthony D'Iorio wrote, Ethereum was founded by Vitalik Buterin, myself, Charles Hoskinson, Mihai Alisi and Amir Chetrit in December 2013. Joseph Lubin, Gavin Wood, and Jeffrey Wilk were added in early 2014 as founders. Formal development of the software began in early 2014 through a Swiss company, Ethereum Switzerland GmbH. The basic idea of putting executable smart contracts in the blockchain needed to be specified before the software could be implemented. This work was done by Gavin Wood, then the Chief Technology Officer, in the Ethereum Yellow Paper that specified the Ethereum virtual machine. Subsequently, a Swiss non-profit foundation, the Ethereum Foundation, was created as well. Development was funded by an online public crowdsourcing from July to August 2014, with the participants buying the Ethereum value token with another digital currency, Bitcoin. While there was early praise for the technical innovations of Ethereum, questions were also raised about its security and scalability. In 2019, Ethereum Foundation employee Virgil Griffith was arrested by the U.S. government for presenting at a blockchain conference in North Korea. Etymology. Buterin chose the name Ethereum after browsing a list of elements from science fiction on Wikipedia. He stated, I immediately realized that I liked it better than all of the other alternatives that I had seen. I suppose it was the fact that it sounded nice and it had the word ether, referring to the hypothetical invisible medium that permeates the universe and allows light to travel. Buterin wanted his platform to be the underlying and imperceptible medium for the applications running on top of it. Launch and milestones. Several codenamed prototypes of Ethereum were developed by the Ethereum Foundation as part of their proof of concept series. Olympic was the last prototype in public beta pre-release. The Olympic network provided users with a bug bounty of 25,000 Ether for stress testing the limits of the Ethereum blockchain. In July 2015, Frontier marked the tentative experimental release of the Ethereum platform. Since the initial launch, Ethereum has undergone several planned protocol upgrades. which are important changes affecting the underlying functionality and/or incentive structures of the platform. Protocol upgrades are accomplished by means of a hard fork. The latest upgrade to Ethereum was Mere Glacier, implemented on the 1st of January. The DAO event. In 2016, a decentralized autonomous organization called the DAO, a set of smart contracts developed on the platform, raised a record $150 million in a crowdsource to fund the project. The DAO was exploited in June 2016 when $50 million of DAO tokens were stolen by an unknown hacker. The event sparked a debate in the crypto community about whether Ethereum should perform a contentious hard fork to reappropriate the affected funds. It resulted in the network splitting into two blockchains. Ethereum with the theft reversed and Ethereum Classic, which continued on the original chain. The hard fork created a rivalry between the two networks. After the hard fork, Ethereum subsequently forked twice in the fourth quarter of 2016 to deal with other attacks. Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. In March 2017, various blockchain startups, research groups, and Fortune 500 companies announced the creation of the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance with 30 founding members. By May 2017, the non-profit organization had 116 enterprise members, including Consensus, Kami Group, Cornell University's Research Group, Toyota Research Institute, Samsung SDS, Microsoft, Intel, J.P. Morgan, Cooley LLP, Merck GA, DTCC, Deloitte, Accenture, Banco Santander, BNY Mellon, Inc., and National Bank of Canada. By July 2017, there were over 150 members in the alliance, including MasterCard, Cisco Systems, Sberbank, and Scotiabank. Ethereum 2.0. Open source development is currently underway for a major upgrade to Ethereum known as Ethereum 2.0 or ETH2. The main purpose of the upgrade is to increase transaction throughput for the network, from the current of about 15 transactions per second to up to tens of thousands of transactions per second. The plan is to increase throughput by splitting up the workload into many blockchains running in parallel and then having them all share a common consensus proof of stake blockchain, so that to maliciously tamper with any singular chain would require one to tamper with the common consensus, which would cost the attacker far more than they could ever gain from an attack. Ethereum 2.0 is designed to be launched in 3 phases. Phase 0 was launched on the 1st of December 2020 and created the Beacon Chain, a proof-of-stake blockchain that will act as the central coordination and consensus hub of Ethereum 2.0. Phase 1 will create shard chains and connect them to the Beacon Chain. Phase 2 will implement state execution in the shard chains with the current Ethereum 1.0 chain expected to become one of the shards of Ethereum 2.0. Design. Ethereum is a permissionless, non-hierarchical network of computers which build and come to consensus on an ever-growing series of blocks or batches of transactions, known as the blockchain. Each block contains an identifier of the block that it must immediately follow in the chain if it is to be considered valid. Whenever a node adds a block to its chain, it executes the transactions therein in their order, thereby altering the ETH balances and other storage values of Ethereum accounts. These balances and values, collectively known as the state, are maintained on the node's computer separately from the blockchain, in a Merkle-Patricia tree. Each node communicates with a relatively small subset of the network, known as its peers. Whenever a node wishes to include a new transaction in the blockchain, it sends it to its peers, who then send it to their peers, and so on. In this way, it propagates throughout the network. Certain nodes, called miners, maintain a list of all of these new transactions and use them to create new blocks, which they then send to the rest of the network. Whenever a node receives a block, it checks the validity of the block and of all of the transactions therein and, if valid, adds it to its blockchain and executes all of said transactions. As the network is non-hierarchical, a node may receive competing blocks, which may form competing chains. The network comes to consensus on the blockchain by following the longest chain rule, which states that the chain with the most blocks at any given time is the canonical chain. This rule achieves consensus because miners do not want to expend their computational work trying to add blocks to a chain that will be abandoned by the network. Ether. Ether is the cryptocurrency generated by the Ethereum protocol as a reward to miners in a proof-of-work system for adding blocks to the blockchain. It is the only currency accepted in the payment of transaction fees, which also go to miners. The terms Ether and Ethereum have become interchangeable in the cryptocurrency community. The block reward together with the transaction fees provide the incentive to miners to keep the blockchain growing, that is, to keep processing new transactions. Therefore, Ether is fundamental to the operation of the network. Each Ethereum account has an ETH balance and may send ETH to any other account. The smallest unit of ETH is known as a wei and is equal to 10-18 ETH. Ether is listed on exchanges under the ticker symbol ETH. The Greek uppercase Xi character is sometimes used for its currency symbol. The shift to Ethereum 2.0 may reduce the issuance rate of Ether. There is currently no implemented hard cap on the total supply of Ether. Accounts. There are two types of accounts on Ethereum, user accounts and contracts. Both types have an ETH balance, may send ETH to any account, may call any public function of a contract or create a new contract, and are identified on the blockchain and in the state by their address. User accounts are the only type which may create transactions. For a transaction to be valid, it must be signed using the account's private key, a 64-character hexadecimal string that should only be known to the account's owner. The signature algorithm used is XA. Importantly, this algorithm has the property that it allows one to derive the signer's address from the signature without knowing the private key. Contracts are the only type of account which has associated code and contract storage. Contracts are passive entities, only able to do anything as a result of an account calling one of its functions. During the execution of its code, a contract may send ETH, alter its storage values, create temporary storage that dies at the end of the function, call any of its own functions, call any public function of a different contract, create a new contract, and query information about the current transaction or the blockchain. Addresses. Ethereum addresses are composed of the prefix 0x, a common identifier for hexadecimal, concatenated with the rightmost 20 bytes of the KK256 hash of the ETH's public key. In hexadecimal, 2 digits represent a byte, meaning addresses contain 40 hexadecimal digits, for example 0x B739,494CE839,613 Contract addresses are in the same format, however, they are determined by sender and creation transaction nonce. Virtual machine. The Ethereum virtual machine is the runtime environment for smart contracts in Ethereum. It is a 256-bit register stack designed to run the same code exactly as intended. It is the fundamental consensus mechanism for Ethereum. The formal definition of the EVM is specified in the Ethereum Yellow Paper. EVMs have been implemented in C++, C#, Go, Haskell, Java, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, Rust, Elixir, Erlang, and soon WebAssembly. Gas. Gas is a unit of account within the EVM used in the calculation of a transaction fee, which is the amount of ETH a transaction's sender must pay to the miner who includes the transaction in the blockchain. Each type of operation which may be performed by the EVM is hard-coded with a certain gas cost, which is intended to be roughly proportional to the amount of resources a node must expend to perform that operation. When creating a transaction, the sender must specify a gas limit and gas price. The gas limit is the maximum amount of gas the sender is willing to use in the transaction, and the gas price is the amount of ETH the sender wishes to pay to the miner per unit of gas used. The higher the gas price, the more incentive a miner has to include the transaction in their block, and thus the quicker the transaction will be included in the blockchain. For a transaction to be valid, the sender's starting ETH balance must be greater than or equal to gas limit gas price. The sender buys the full amount of gas up front, at the start of the execution of the transaction, and is refunded at the end for any gas not used. If at any point the transaction does not have enough gas to perform the next operation, the transaction is reverted but the sender still pays for the gas used. Gas prices are typically denominated in GWEI, a subunit of ETH equal to 10-9 ETH. This fee mechanism is designed to mitigate transaction spam, prevent infinite loops during contract execution, and provide for a market-based allocation of network resources. Governance. In October 2015, a development governance was proposed as the Ethereum Improvement Proposal. standardized on EIP1. The core development group and community were to gain consensus by a process regulated EIP. Difficulty bomb. The difficulty bomb is a mechanism where the difficulty of blockchain mining began increasing in November 2016, from block 200,000. This onset is referred to as Ethereum's Ice Age, which was implemented as an incentive for the network to transition from a POW to a POS blockchain. A difficulty bomb was scheduled in February 2019, but was pushed back by developers. Comparison to Bitcoin. Ethereum is different from Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency with the largest market capitalization as of 2020, in several aspects. Bitcoin is a singular form of digital money where users can send, receive, and hold only Bitcoins. Ethereum is a smart contract platform which allows entities to leverage blockchain technology to create numerous different digital ledgers and can be used to create additional cryptocurrencies that run on top of its blockchain. For example, Ethereum can be used to create tokens that are pegged 1 with the value of the United States dollar if a user wanted to transfer or hold the value of dollars on the blockchain. Ether itself can also be sent, received and held as digital money. Bitcoin is aimed to only be money, compared with Ethereum where the goal is to also run applications. Its block time is 13 seconds, compared to 10 minutes for Bitcoin. Mining of Ether generates new coins at a usually consistent rate, occasionally changing during hard forks, while for Bitcoin the rate halves every 4 years. For proof of work, Ethereum uses the ETH algorithm, which is intended to reduce the advantage of specialized ASICs in mining. Transaction fees differ by computational complexity, bandwidth use, and storage needs, while Bitcoin transactions compete by means of transaction size in bytes. Ethereum uses an accounting system where values in way are debited from accounts and credited to another, as opposed to Bitcoin's UXO system, which is more analogous to spending cash and receiving change in return. Applications. The EVM's instruction can do anything that computer programs in general can do. Popular uses of Ethereum have included the creation of fungible and non-fungible tokens with a variety of properties, crowdfunding, decentralized finance, decentralized exchanges, decentralized autonomous organizations, games, prediction markets, and verifiably fair gambling. Contract source code. Ethereum's smart contracts are written in high-level programming languages and then compiled down to EVM bytecode and deployed to the Ethereum blockchain. They can be written in Solidity, Serpent, YEL, LLL, and Mutane. There is also a research-oriented language under development called Viper. Source code and compiler information are usually published along with the launch of the contract so that users can see the code and verify that it compiles to the bytecode that is on-chain. One issue related to using smart contracts on a public blockchain is that bugs, including security holes, are visible to all but cannot be fixed quickly. One example of this is the 2016 attack on the DAO, which could not be quickly stopped or reversed. There is ongoing research on how to use formal verification to express and prove non-trivial properties. A Microsoft research report noted that writing solid smart contracts can be extremely difficult in practice, using the DAO hack to illustrate this problem. The report discussed tools that Microsoft had developed for verifying contracts, and noted that a large-scale analysis of published contracts is likely to uncover widespread vulnerabilities. The report also stated that it is possible to verify the equivalence of a Solidity program in the EVM code. ERC20 tokens. The ERC20 token standard allows for fungible tokens on the Ethereum blockchain. Numerous cryptocurrencies have launched as ERC20 tokens and have been distributed through initial coin offerings. Fees to send ERC20 tokens must be paid with Ether. Non-fungible tokens. Main article, non-fungible token. Ethereum also allows for the creation of unique and indivisible tokens that cannot be directly exchanged for one another, called non-fungible tokens since these types of tokens are unique. They have been used to represent digital art, sports memorabilia, virtual real estate and gaming. NFTs generally sell on the Ethereum blockchain through various digital auction websites. In 2021, Christie sold a piece of NFT artwork by Beeple for $69.3 million, making him the third most valuable living artist in terms of auction prices at the time. Decentralized finance. Main article, Decentralized finance. Decentralized finance is a use case of Ethereum. It offers traditional financial instruments in a decentralized architecture, outside of companies' and governments' control, such as money market funds which let users earn interest. Examples of DeFi platforms include MakerDAO and Compound. Uniswap, a decentralized exchange for tokens on Ethereum, grew from $20 million in liquidity to $2.9 billion in 2020. As of October 2020, over $11 billion was invested in various DeFi protocols. Additionally, through a process called wrapping, certain DeFi protocols allow synthetic versions of various assets, such as Bitcoin, gold and oil, to become available and tradable on Ethereum, and also compatible with all of Ethereum's major wallets and applications.